had done for over the years. He said, and Samuel said unto the people, it is the Lord that advanced Moses and Aaron, and that brought your fathers up out of the land of Egypt. Now therefore stand still, that I may reason with you before the Lord, of all the righteous acts of the Lord, which he did to you and to your fathers. When Jacob was come into Egypt, and your fathers cried unto the Lord, then the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, which brought forth your fathers out of Egypt, and made them dwell in this place. And when they forgot the Lord their God, he sold them into the hand of Sisera, captain of the host of Hazor, and into the land of the Philistines, and into the hand of the king of Moab. And they fought against them. And they cried unto the Lord and said, we have sinned because we have forsaken the Lord, and have served Balaam and Ashtaroth. But now deliver us out of the hand of our enemies, and we will serve thee. And the Lord sent Zerubbabel and Bened and Jephthah, I can hardly say these, and Samuel, and delivered you out of the hand of your enemies on every side, and you dwelt safe. And when you saw that Nahash, the king of the children of Ammon, came against you, you said unto me, nay, but a king shall reign over us, and when the Lord your God was your king. Now therefore, behold, the king whom you have chosen, and whom you have desired, and behold, the Lord has set a king over you. And he begins to tell them, begins to remind them about the goodness of God, about what God has done. Samuel is saying, I'm old, I'm this, I'm that, I haven't done you wrong, I've been what I'm supposed to be. And just give me a few more minutes, let me remind you of what my God has done for you. Let me remind you of where you came from. Let me remind you of what not to go back to. My God is a powerful God, is in a sense what he was telling them. He was speaking to them and reminding them. And then we'll be closing here in a few minutes. Verse 14, he begins to warn them and begins to urge them to serve the Lord with all they got. In verse 14 it says, if you will fear the Lord and serve him and obey his voice and not rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then shall both ye and also the king that reigneth over you continue following the Lord your God. He said, if you'll fear the Lord and if you'll serve him and obey him, you'll continue following the Lord your God. But if you will not obey the voice of the Lord, but rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then shall the hand of the Lord be against you as it was against your fathers. Now therefore stand and see this great thing which the Lord will do before your eyes. Is it not wheat harvest today, that I will call unto the Lord, and he shall send thunder and rain, that you may perceive and see that your wickedness is great, which you have done in the sight of the Lord in asking you a king? So Samuel called unto the Lord, and the Lord sent thunder and rain that day, and all the people greatly feared the Lord and Samuel. And all the people said unto Samuel, pray for thy servants unto the Lord thy God, that we die not. For we have added unto all our sins this evil to ask us a king. Even though Samuel just told them God's been good, even though Samuel just told them that you need to serve the Lord, now he's reminding them, hey, you've still done wrong. You still need to be dealt with here and asking for a king. You went against God's will. You went against God's design. You went against God's plan. And you done this. I know God is moved. I know God has provided, but you still got to be dealt with. And he begins to tell them, should I pray to God for a thunderstorm in the wheat harvest? And this is the late spring, And then, he talks about the thunderstorm in different parts of the Bible. It talks about thunderings. Even in Hannah's prayer, I think it was in chapter 1 or chapter 2 of 1 Samuel, when Hannah was praying, she began to say in her prayers about thundering over the enemies, about thundering over the people that was coming against her, that they'd be overtaken. God would thunder and God would speak and God would move in that powerful thundering voice, and just a horrible thing. And now he is saying, should I pray for thunder over your wheat harvest this day and rain, that you perceive and see that your wickedness is great because you ask of a king? And he begins to tell them and begins to speak to them. Thunderstorms was a sign of the divine presence of God. And here's the verse in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 10. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth. And he shall give strength unto his kings, and exalt the horn of his anointed. Thunderstorms coming during the wheat harvest of late spring would be a sure sign of divine condemnation. And here they stand before God. We'll be closing here, starting at verse 20. Samuel began to tell them, listen, you're still wrong. You've added to your sins. And yet Samuel began to speak again in verse 20. And Samuel said unto the people, fear not, you have done all this wickedness. Yet turn not aside from following the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. What a wonderful word that is. He said, you have done wrong. You have added to your wickedness. You have disobeyed, but do not, fall away from serving God. You continue to serve Him. You continue to seek Him. You continue to pour your heart out and begin to talk to Him, and He'll deal with you. In verse 21, it says, and turn ye not aside, for then should you go after vain things, which cannot profit nor deliver, for they are vain. And that right there is some pretty good advice for the day. Samuel told him, you have sinned, you've done wrong, but yet turn not aside from following the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. Because he says in verse 21, if you turn aside from God, pretty much he says, you'll go after vain things and cannot profit nor deliver you, for they are vain. And how true that is today that, even as Christians, even in my walk as a Christian, there's been times in my life, I won't say I've wanted to throw my hands up and quit, but through life and through maturing as a Christian, there's been times I've come up against obstacles and I've got my eyes upon man instead of God, and I would watch a man or a woman that was close to being a Christian. I've seen them do things and act in ways, and I begin to think in my mind, well, if they're doing all of that and they're prospering and they're gaining, and it seems like everybody loves them, then why am I staying so hard to stay away from it? Why ain't I? Just go ahead and do it. And I begin to read, how when we begin to fall away from God, and that is falling away from our convictions, that's falling away from the commandments of God. If it was sin 20 years ago when you got saved, it's sin today. Unless it's some kind of foolishness they've come up with. But the Bible tells us what sin is. And he tells these people, if you steer away from following God, if you don't stay on that straight and narrow, if you don't stay on those knees, if you don't stay in the Word, if you don't stay in true relationship with Jesus Christ, he told them you're going to fade away. And you're going to give in to all this unuseful stuff. You're going to chase after things that cannot profit you or deliver you. He says they are vain. And on down to 25 it says in verse 22, for the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it hath pleased the Lord to make you his people. Moreover, as for me, God forbid that I should sin against the Lord in ceasing to pray for you. But I will teach you the good and the right way. Only fear the Lord and serve him in truth with all your heart. For consider how great things he hath done for you. But if you shall still do wickedly, you shall be consumed, both ye and your king. Now think about that. He told them, fear the Lord and serve him in truth. And he says, how great things hath he done for you. What a wonderful word that is from Samuel, telling them, listen, look back at what God has done. Isn't he worthy today of you to be praised and to be glorified for all he's done for you? And he didn't have to come to this world, John, and die on a cruel cross for me and you, but he did. And as I close, I just thought that was wonderful. Last word to Samuel there to them. Samuel still loved them. Samuel had the love of God in him, I believe, with all my heart. And even though they forsaken Samuel and pretty much showed Samuel that we don't really care about you no more, he yet had a love for them, Brandon, because he told them. He says, moreover, as for me, God forbid that I should sin against the Lord in ceasing to pray for you. But I will teach you the good and the right way. He was still praying for them. He was still seeking God for them. And he begins to tell them, you seek God with your own heart. You seek him like you never sought him before. And how great that is and how true that is even today. If we cease to praise the Lord and cease to serve the Lord, I believe with all my heart we'll veer away from the right way. And like he told them there, you're going to start partaking of things that's going to do you no good, won't profit you whatsoever. And I'm just thankful today for everything. Amen. Does anybody got anything to say or any comments?
You know, John, Saul, Samuel, even though he was sorry, he was regretful, begging, demanding a king. But later on, when Saul starts to reveal his true colors, you see he is not a man of God. He has no fear of the Lord. All he wants is the favor of the people, pretty much. And it burdened Samuel's heart. Samuel wants to see the good in Saul. He wants to see him do good and serve the Lord, but it's not in Saul to do that. But what an inspiration. But even when we know that people have chosen the wrong path, to still try to see hope for them, see hope, good for them. I love that part of First Samuel where it burdened Samuel to death when Saul starts to go against God's ways.
I can take that when you're praying for somebody, a person just recently, at one point, we thought, people can fool you, you have to, if they say they're of God, you have to give them that benefit, if they're telling the truth, watch the truth and stuff. As they get further and further from God, and then they openly just confess where they're at, and what kills me is then they try to make it okay with God.
Yeah.
And if you don't go along with the way they're living, then, you're hateful, you hate them. But when I go to pray for these people, like, this one person, I'm praying for her, and I want them to stop and say, God, how do I need to pray for her? What do I need to ask you to do? If she wants to know you, what do I need to say to you for her? How can I intercede? And, and I felt the Lord dealt with me. Just ask for help. Just ask for help. It's left up to him and her. We can pray for these people, but how do we pray for them? When we know that they have openly went against God, and now they're openly saying, okay, I once was this, but now God has shown me it's all right for me to live in a homosexual lifestyle. It makes you angry, but then you know where they're headed, you feel pity for them, but how do you pray for these people? Did they never really know God? How could they have known God, who he is? We know who God is. He's everything. He's huge, he's big. I fear him. But I know he's merciful, he's love, he's kindness, he's patient. And I know this is not the first time this has happened. But how do I pray for this person? What do I ask God to do for her? Open her eyes. Lord, let her see where she's at. What this is the choice she has made will send her to hell. Or is she going to continue to tell me and everybody else God knows her, loves her, and he accepts her? It's a hard thing sometimes, Brother John.
I think though, like you said, it's totally between her and God.
Yeah.
We can talk to her until we're blue in the face, but deep down in her heart, she may be in a conviction.
I hope so.
And through your prayers, and I'm in the same situations. We're all like that. We all got situations. And all we can do is continue to pray for them, like you said. But it gets hard sometimes. What do you pray for?
You ask for his mercy.
But Samuel, he continued to pray for them. He knew they were going to go on the road. But he told them that I'm going to pray for you, but I'm also going to teach you the right way and show you, So I guess in a sense, like when you have an opportunity to witness, it gets hard. It sure does. It's serious. And you were talking about, was they even saved? Well, the Bible warns us plenty of times, beware of false doctrine, beware of all this stuff. You'll be led astray. And, so it's serious stuff.
Amen.
Serious stuff. We got a lot to pray for. All right, well, we'll dismiss for church. Thank you all.